You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into the show before the show, the official podcast of Minor League Baseball. I'm Sam Dykstra, opening up the show again this week, but I am not by myself as I was last week. I am joined now, as promised, by Benjamin Hill, who is back from the road, a trip to the south, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But first, Ben, it's good to have you back. How are you doing?
Yeah, good to see you, Sam. Good to be near you. We were here in the same room. And it goes without saying, the baseball season in general, but especially this time of year, the heart of the baseball season, things just get a little wacky with everyone's schedules, not just you and I, but seemingly everyone, with all the baseball travel, the baseball events, teams operating at full tilt, whatever else we're trying to do in our personal lives on top of all that. Everyone just seems like ships in the night.
I mean, that's just the baseball season for you. Like you said, there's a lot going on here. We're talking here on July 2nd. We're coming to you guys on July 3rd because of the 4th of July holiday on Friday, our normal release date. So do not be alarmed. There is a reason why we were out a day early. But yeah, I mean, I was in Texas last week. You were in Tennessee, South Carolina, and Georgia.
Yeah.
Tyler, who is out again this week, has been still out in Portugal and Spain. Can't wait to hear more about his trip. He is also once again editing this episode, so everybody say hello to Tyler, who is on the other end of this right now. But yeah, I mean, the futures game is right around the corner for me. The draft is right after that. The trade deadline. We are in the month of the trade deadline now. I know we've had a big Rafael Devers deal already done, but Lord knows tons more is coming. But first, things have happened. We're looking at like what is going to happen this month, but it's been a very busy week, not just because of our travels, but we got big news over the weekend. We've talked about it plenty on this show as we begin Ben's Biz Banter, brought to you by Circle K. We talked about it plenty about the John Oliver, the Last Week Tonight segment, how they were looking for a team to rebrand, maybe for a season, maybe just for a single game. Details have been slowly coming out about that. Then we found out that the team he was going to rebrand was the Erie Seawolves, but we still didn't have an identity yet. A couple weeks passed. Then on Sunday night, we found out exactly what that will be and all the details on when we will first see that redesign. So Ben, I'll give you the honors. Who are the Erie Seawolves becoming later this month?
Yeah, July 19th for the first of several games this season. The Erie Seawolves have been rebranded by the John Oliver Show, the team at Last Week Tonight, to Mammoths. Moon Mammoths. Moon Mammoths.
Moon Mammoths.
Yeah, it's a little tough with that TH sound at the end. Moon Mammoths. It's almost why I'm already on a tangent. You know, the Gwinnett Stripers were originally going to call themselves the Big Mouths. And they went with Stripers with the same logos that they'd created for Big Mouths, because the more they said Big Mouths, they were like, it's tough to say that all the time as your team name. Moon Mammoths has that problem a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be the team's full-time identity. We'll see what they want to do after this year. But they've been the Seawolves for a while, and they've got a lot of branding around that. But the Moon Mammoths is because a man named Moon, George Moon, I want to say, and he was diving in the depths of Lake Erie. George Moon.
Lake Pleasant in Erie County.
Lake Pleasant in Erie County. Thank you. Yes, and this is from Scott Chuziano's article on MLB.com. I unfortunately was not able to cover this directly because I was on my own road trip when they announced this. Scott did a great job on this write-up. But yeah, George Moon, a scuba diver, summer 1991. Bill Clinton is president. Will Smith, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince's Summertime is heating up the airwaves. Nirvana is breaking. And a scuba diver. I just said Nirvana, scuba diver. A scuba diver named George Moon was combing the depths of Lake Pleasant in Erie County, PA. When he broke the surface, he was carrying with him an almost 3-foot long boon. I cannot speak to that bone.
Boone, Moon, Bone.
Moan, scuba diver. Okay, all right. Sorry about this, everyone. Anyway, he emerged from the depths with a 3 bone, and after taking it to the proper authorities or proper team of scientists, it was revealed to be a mammoth, a prehistoric discovery. So this Moon Mammoth's identity is because the man who found the woolly mammoth bone in the depths of Lake Pleasant was named Moon. So you get the Moon Mammoth's identity. But of course, the logo doesn't have George Moon, whatever he may look like, in it. It put the mammoth on the moon. So you have a purple woolly mammoth on the moon. And that's what we're going to see in Erie. Just in a couple Saturdays from now, and John Oliver and his team will be there. So that will be chapter 4 of this saga.
Yeah, right.
Chapter 1 saying, here's this big segment on minor league baseball and all the crazy things that teams do, and we want to rebrand a team. Segment 2 being like, we heard from a lot of teams, and we've chosen the Erie Seawolves. Segment 3 being, okay, the Erie Seawolves are going to be the Moon Mammoths, and segment 4 on July 19th, now we're going to see the Erie Seawolves play as the Moon Mammoths. So what a wild couple months for minor league baseball, but especially for the Erie Seawolves. For the most part, there's timelines on things like this that can extend, multiple years, but got some expediting going, and pulled this one off in just a matter of months. And it's going to be fun to see what the team does with it, and fun to see how Last Week Tonight and team cover it in an upcoming episode. And yeah, the Erie Seawolves do have other nights on the calendar. It's not in the B article, but they announced, you can check the team's promo schedule. They have, I think, 3 other Moon Mammoths nights. Although I would imagine the first one with John Oliver there is the one where they're really going to blow it out. And I think fans can meet George Moon as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, both Oliver and Moon will be there. One thing they mentioned on the show is that Moon still lives in Erie County. So they actually played a clip from, I want to say it was from the 90s, where the mammoth bones were in a museum, I believe it was in Harrisburg.
It was, yeah.
Which ties in, obviously, another minor league locale and another Eastern League locale.
Capital of Pennsylvania.
But it was going to be on display for just a short time, but they called it the Moon Mammoth there. So this wasn't like the Oliver team realizing, hey, this guy named Moon found a mammoth, and let's just put that together and kind of, in a very alliterative way. You were talking before about MM, and it's like Mighty Muscles makes me think of that too. Obviously, there's tons of precedent for this. I love that they're throwing in purple. There's nothing about the mammoth itself that would scream purple, but hey, it's, if you're going to throw a moon on your logo, give it some nighttime feel, move away from blue. And again, it's funny, Mighty Muscles also purple. I don't know if there's anything to that. It's just a funny coincidence. But they also had their mascot that the Last Week Tonight team designed in coordination with the folks, I believe at Sesame Workshop.
Yeah.
So this is not just like, oh, hey, let's make this. And, the Sesame Workshop here in New York City, Last Week Tonight, filmed here in New York City. So there was some NYC coordination there, but yeah, it came together pretty quick. Like you said, Ben, it's fascinating what we know about promos and how they take years to put into place and to get the orders in. And then as we were walking here to this room to record this podcast, the folks at MLB Network had the jersey and cap in hand already. This is something that's come together very quickly. It's been exciting to see people get excited by it. When I posted it to Blue Sky earlier this week, a lot of folks were like, oh man, I need to order this immediately. It feels like they got the minor league zeitgeist. Like, this doesn't seem as wacky as I feared it was going to be. This feels like right exactly where
No, honestly, given the John Oliver show and saying you have no input and everything,
you will take whatever we put out
this
there.
seems pretty tame to me.
Yeah.
Something like deeply weird or offensive, but I honestly was, I think the story behind it is really good, but I was expecting something a little more just out there in the inherent absurdity of the name and branding, because this seems like it could, like if it was just a typical alternate identity, one of many dozens that are happening throughout the minors and often unveiled in the off season. If this had just been, oh, the Eries are going to be the Moon Mammoths, it just would have been another one that I would have been like, oh, cool, what's the story
Yeah,
behind that?
let's
And we
dig
would have
into
talked
that.
about
Yeah.
it, but we wouldn't have been like, what is this? The Seawolves would never be a thing. That said, there's a good quote from Greg Coleman, friend of the show, in the MLB.com article that Scott wrote. And he says, I think we could have got our staff in a room and come up with 50 different identities that all would have been very successful and good and well received. And we wouldn't have ended up here. And that just gets me thinking, you're not going to be able to collaborate with a show like the John Oliver show every year. This was just a sort of lightning in a bottle situation. But I wonder if conceptually, if there's something that other teams can take from this of tapping creative people from outside the organization who might have their own audience in some way, even if it's just locally,
Yeah.
to do this kind of thing themselves.
Have your
Because,
local news tap into this, or have a local news personality or whatever. Something along those lines, maybe.
but yeah, putting people in charge of an alternate identity that aren't with the team and just seeing what comes up from outside the front office. Because obviously, there's a lot of people in minor league baseball who are very good at doing this kind of thing, but sometimes, no matter what the organization, an outside perspective could get you down a path that you just wouldn't have got otherwise. So, I feel like I'd like to see other teams do this. It's not going to be John Oliver, but who could you work with that's creative and has some kind of following in your market? And really put them in control of an alternate identity and then benefit from their enthusiasm coming from the outside, in addition to the enthusiasm that you bring to it from the inside within your organization. So, is there a new lane opening there? I don't know, but I like that idea.
Yeah, it certainly could be a rising tide lifts all boats situation where if all of a sudden minor league alternate identities have a national audience, guess what's happening in your backyard? Like teams have been doing this for a while. So maybe there's a little bit more opportunity to be creative. They could be like, hey, if you saw like St. Paul Saints, for example, they jumped in on this, they applied to John Oliver and they got rejected. But they turned that into an opportunity into do just doing a plain night, which they handed out pieces of white paper,
Yeah.
and then you got a free ticket into the game if your name was John or Oliver. So even though they didn't win, they still profited off this somehow. There's so many more lanes available when it gets a national audience like this. So it's exciting. We'll see what comes next for Erie and the rest of the industry. But the Moon Mammoths are here and will be here a few times in the 2025 season. All right, Ben, now pivoting toward your own trips that we talked about before. This one, I like this one because it was focused exclusively on places you haven't been.
Yeah.
Which is rare, obviously. You've been so many places across the minor league landscape. We've got 3 new stadiums in a drivable distance from each other here between Knoxville, Spartanburg, and Columbus. Knoxville, of course, is the Tennessee Smokies moving a few miles down the road from Kodak, Tennessee to Knoxville proper. Spartanburg being Hub City, the Hub City Spartanburgers, and Columbus Clingstones moving from Mississippi, Pearl, Mississippi, to be specific, to Columbus, Georgia. So just start off in Knoxville. I mean, what stood out to you most there? I got to see that stadium as it was being built last year. It's a downtown stadium, right in the heart of Knoxville. But it was cool to see your pictures and videos of the completed product, including the Tennessee shaped scoreboard
Yeah.
out there.
There might be other state shaped scoreboards out there. I mean, there
Like
certainly
Texas
is in
yeah.
Texas with the Sugarland Space Cowboys. But they do have a Tennessee shaped scoreboard. Yes, this trip, going back to what you said, Sam, is 3 new ballparks. So I found a 6-game homestand in which all 3 of these teams were home and did 2 nights in each of these places, or in the case of Columbus, a day as well on a Sunday afternoon. So this is, like all my trips, could be a template for other people, and I hope it is, and I'm sure it has been for other people without even knowing that I did it. But pretty rare to have 3 new ballparks that you could fit into the span of well, if you only spent one night there into 3 nights, you could a bit of driving, but to see new ballpark, new ballpark, new ballpark, bang, 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 is pretty rare. I hadn't been to a ballpark that was new to me since Wichita, the Wind Surge in 2022, and that ballpark opened in 2021. There have not been new ballparks in minor league baseball since 2021 up until this year. So to have three of them all part of one road trip is special. And Knoxville, yeah, I mean that's the return of minor league baseball to Knoxville for the first time since 1999. That year there was the Knoxville Smokies, and they moved to Kodak, Tennessee, outside of Sevierville, near Pigeon Forge and Dollywood and all that kind of stuff. So not very far away, but a very different kind of landscape than playing in the city proper. So it's in what they call old downtown Knoxville, which is very close to downtown. I stayed at a hotel in downtown Knoxville, and it was 10, 12-minute walk to the ballpark from downtown Knoxville into old downtown, kind of going down a hill. And it's an area that I think had fallen into a little bit of blight or disrepair over the years. And so the ballpark, like is so often the case, is not just a new ballpark, but part of a larger kind of neighborhood revitalization. The Smokies owner, a guy named Randy Boyd, owns a lot of the other property around the area. So he's directly involved in a lot of the other projects going on around the ballpark. There's a new apartment complex called Yardley Flats that's just starting to lease apartments down on the left field side of the ballpark. Then there's the Delaney, which is is that a hotel or an apartment? Everything blurs together. But another big building like under construction on the right side. But Knoxville Covenant Health Park is what it was called. The thing that stood out to me about this ballpark is it had such a sense of place. The Tennessee State scoreboard, sure, but also being in downtown Knoxville or old downtown, just gave it much more of a sense of place than the old ballpark, which was near a Bass Pro Shop and just kind of tucked away in its own little area.
Yeah. Also by a Buc-ee's.
Yeah, by
the biggest Buc-ee's in the world, actually.
Is it really? Man,
yeah.
Buc-ee's are.
I think because so many people are going to Pigeon Forge, so there was the space there. But yeah, I was talking to some people in Texas, and I'm like, oh yeah, the biggest Buc-ee's is in Tennessee. They're like, we're aware and we're very angry by that.
Yeah, I've been seeing more Buc-ee's on the road. When I first started traveling, it was like Texas only, but not to get on that tangent.
Yeah. Sorry, there was just an opportunity there. But anyway, back to Knoxville.
Yeah. I was just about to sidetrack again about all that, but yeah, in addition to my favorite thing about it architecturally is I never got the name of this. First, it was described to me as a canal and then later a creek. I think it's a creek, but there's a little body of water that runs behind the outfield fence. That's called a creek. And so you have the outfield fence, then this creek, then the concourse. And it's a 360-degree concourse. And then there's a bridge in the left field corner that runs over the creek and, connects the outfield concourse down to the third base side so you can complete your lap around the concourse. So having a functional ballpark bridge, I think, is a really cool thing. Having this creek run through.
Harkens to Pittsburgh a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit with that. So just to be out there in the outfield, right by the Tennessee scoreboard, with a little creek running in front of you, there's like a greenway off in the left field area as well, with a bike path. The bridge, which they applied some special polish, or I was struggling with this word on the road, lacquer, yeah, to make it rust automatically. So they put this like rust lacquer on the bridge to give it a look of kind of a more old industrial feel. There's also a vintage water tower in right field, just in line with the architecture of the area. So you got the water tower too, scoreboard, creek, bridge, new apartment buildings, new hotels. It's just really beautiful standing there as the sun was setting at that ballpark and taking in that really unique surrounding was my favorite thing about the ballpark. Its sense of place, and there was a real beauty to it. So good to be there for 2 days. Really good food as well. They have their own in-house smoker, so a lot of barbecue. Talking to their head of food and beverage, who I will be writing about, and I don't have his name in front of me. I always run into this problem talking to so many people. But he was like, I got the best job in Knoxville, man. And he's like, at 10 p.m. after a game, they get the smoker going for the next day. They had some like pulled pork barbecue on house-made chips, like potato chips. Like, really, really good. And really good brisket, and just really knocking out of the park with the food as well. So if you want some memorable, pretty evolving downtown surroundings. I didn't talk to him. Anyway, yeah, Aaron Connolly. That's it. The executive chef, Aaron Connolly. Thank you, Sam. So that was a lot of fun. And for my second night in Knoxville, I met with Braden Botts, who is a MLB LCC live content coordinator. So he got a lot of great photos and videos. And then the two of us went on to Spartanburg, home of or Spartanburgers, the Hub City Spartanburgers. Hub City being a nickname for Spartanburg. So there's like some train theme around all that because the Hub City name for the city is based on it being a railroad hub, especially as the city developed many, many years ago. Spartanburgers, obviously, if you live in Spartanburg, you're a Spartanburger, but obviously that also is a burger. So a lot of burger branding around there.
And the winner of the recent Clash of the Caps.
Yeah, great branding and visuals. Tyson Jeffers, who came over from Hudson Valley, the Renegades, is the GM of that organization. And I really, really like Spartanburg. Fifth Third Park, another Fifth Third Park on the landscape. There's not as many as there used to be, but a new Fifth Third Park. This ballpark is, again, kind of a downtown ballpark. The concourse, I think, might be eventually expanded all the way around, but right now it is not. Intimate seating bowl, like pretty steep. So you got like a pretty severe angle when you go down the stairs to the seating bowl. So the concourse itself behind home plate is elevated and you have like a high view of the game and then a pretty steep row of stairs to get to the seating bowl. So there is good energy in the seating bowl because it's pretty intimate and boom, right on top of the action with some elevation as well. And but yeah, just tied in with the branding. There are murals all over the ballpark and ballpark characters, not just the mascots. But I met this guy, Chef Carter. He's a stand-up comedian in the area. And he goes around. Well, one of the nights I was there, it was called Flip's Last Resort night, which was a take on the Chicago hot dog place, Dick's Last Resort.
Oh, yeah.
Where you go and you get insulted and everything.
Yeah. I've never actually been. I know a lot of people who have gone in various cities, including in Boston, and they literally just insult you the entire night.
Yeah, so this was the minor league version of that experience. So they had this guy, Chef Carter, who would just hand out chef hats to people, and he'd just write an on-the-spot insult on the hat in Sharpie. So kind of goofy minor league promotion that I know in Broken Arc, and you just don't see that much, like sort of more grassroots goofy stuff going on. So he was just wandering around writing insults on people's hats. On mine, he just wrote Dover, comma Ben. My name is Dover.
Okay.
At one point later in the game, I see this kid walking around. He's like, I don't know, 11 years old, and he's still in his chef hat, and it just says future felon on it.
Got him.
Yeah. But Chef Carter's a really nice guy. He's not out to hurt anyone. So it's great to meet him. And there's also a Markle, who kind of reminded me of like a St. Paul Saints Usher Tainer, but she is just on the concourse on roller skates throughout the game and a smile on her face, and she does not smile, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And gave away like homemade little jewelry, like a little safety pin clip and like little plastic burgers on it that she makes herself. She just like walks around or skates around spreading joy. So you have new ballpark characters, not just mascots, and a goofier energy is evidenced by Flip's Last Resort. The next night I was there, they called it Look at This Photograph Night. It was a tribute to the band Nickelback. So you'd walk in, be handed a nickel, and then you could give them the nickel back in exchange for a photograph, which was a poster of a Spartanburgers poster. And even the poster, if you just glance at it, it looks like a normal baseball poster, a bunch of different players, just like collaged throughout it. But then you look at it and there's like, wait, but there's just like some lettuce over there in the corner, and there's some tomato, and there's a bun up at the top. So it's got like literal burger components in this team poster they gave away, and they gave it away in exchange for the nickel that you gave back. Just like so goofy.
I just imagine them running to the local bank and just being like, we need as many nickels.
Yeah, they even had a promo video about them being at the bank getting all the nickels. And of course, it's like most ballparks, it's cash free, so it's like really the only
currency
hard
going around.
currency transaction you're doing that night is handing a nickel for this poster. I was involved in a burger stacking competition with the GM as one of my teammates. I got to be the top bun, so all I really had to do was dress up as a half of a hamburger bun and then just do a body slam on top of the GM, who was the bottom bun, and he had been, had the various components piled on top of him first. Somewhat regrettable, at least later in the evening, but I say yes to things. I won a pickle juice chugging contest,
Oh, okay.
whole mason jar of pickle juice, and I was like, I like pickle juice, and if I'm drinking, I don't mind a pickleback, with a
Hmm.
shot, and so I was like, I can do this. And so I was just like chug, 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 and got to about 80% of the way through. And then that last bit, I was just like, oh no. And I made it through the rest of the game okay, but I learned that there might be repercussions if you chug a pickle jar full of, or a mason jar full of pickle juice. So just, the more you know.
Yeah, spreading education is what you're doing.
Yeah. And I also do anything for my art. So this was just another example of that. So me and LCC Braden rolling through Spartanburg for 2 days. We also visited Duncan Park, which was the home of minor league baseball in Spartanburg up through 1994. The Spartanburg Phillies, who then relocated to Kannapolis, initially became the Piedmont Boll Weevils before coming the Intimidators. Before now being the Cannonballers. And going to Duncan Park, I don't know what neighborhood you call it in Spartanburg, but it's like in a residential neighborhood, kind of set back down a hill, great tree line, and it has seats still in use today at this ballpark, and it still hosts ball. They're originally from Shibe Park in Philadelphia that date back to 1909, and you still have park seats at this ballpark. The grandstand itself needs quite a lot of work, but there's still a seating area. The field itself, when Braden and I went down there, we were able to get onto the field because there were just some county employees who were on the grounds crew there, and they're keeping the field in great shape. And I know 1994 was a long time ago. Sam, you were barely alive.
I mean, I wasn't in school yet, so yeah.
Right. But in the scheme of things, 1994 is not that long ago, and it was wild to be at that ballpark being like, wow. In 1994, you could still see an affiliated minor league. It just seems so long ago.
And we should say this is Duncan, not like Duncan in Hartford.
Yeah. Duncan, like Duncan, Duncan Park, but it was built, oh man, I'm forgetting the exact date, but like 100 years ago or close to it, and still hosts high school ball today. It'd be an awesome project to do a Rickwood type thing. Yeah, 1926, hosted its first game on July 8th, 1926. So the 99th anniversary of the first game is coming up next week. And how great would that be to see it renovated for its 100th anniversary, get a Rickwood type situation going. But I know how difficult that is, because not only do you have to do a lot of renovations just in general, but then you'd have to meet all the MLB player facility standards just to have one game. That might be a little much of a tall order, but I hope they keep that ballpark in good shape for years and years to come. So if you're in Spartanburg, check out Duncan Park if you can. See a game there. I'd love to just watch a high school game there. Hit the Beacon drive-through, an iconic restaurant. Drove by another one, Sugar and Spice. And so that's the thing. The Spartanburgers name kind of works, and that there are some real old school casual dining establishments around Spartanburg that kind of tie into the general theme. And then on to Columbus, Georgia, Synovus Park, which used to be known as Golden Park, which, speaking of Duncan Park opening in 1926, so was the Columbus Clingstones ballpark. They, as you mentioned, moved from Pearl, Mississippi, where they were playing as the Mississippi Braves. It's the first time that there's been minor league baseball in Columbus, Georgia since 2008, when the Catfish left. But again, this is a ballpark that opened in 1926, and I was kind of debating before I went, like, is this a new ballpark or a massively renovated old ballpark? And who really cares? But I'd go with the latter. Like, there's enough in place from this ballpark, how it was originally, to feel like a massive renovation, as opposed to just like tearing the whole thing down and building a completely new one.
So it's not a full ship of Theseus. It's Theseus. It's there's still some of the floorboards left.
Yeah, yes. That is it. The concrete grandstand, the concrete shell that forms the basis of the seating bowl and grandstand is still like that's that. There's some archways down the first base side. brick archways that were actually constructed in 1996 for the Olympics, which were held in Atlanta, Georgia.
Mhm.
But women's softball was held there at Golden Park. So you have that history. It is, I think it joins Asheville's McCormick Field as one of the few places you can see a minor league game today that you could also say Babe Ruth once played here. Because Babe Ruth rolled through in some, I think, in like a more exhibition contest. More recently, Tim Hudson is from Columbus. Um, Frank Thomas
Hmm.
is from Columbus. There's a lot of baseball history there. So that's the main takeaway from Columbus is that you get to go to a classic ballpark that's new, but also old at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was a real pleasant, memorable environment to be within that. And, the concourse feels like the concourse of an old ballpark. It's behind the plate, running behind the ballpark, with a roof and moving through, concrete on all sides, some archways. It just feels like an old school minor league environment on that level. But of course, there's a new VIP club and there's new group areas in the right and left field lines. There was all manner of work done, I'm sure, to get it up to the standard that we need to play minor league baseball in terms of the field itself and all the player amenities. So a ton of work behind the scenes and on the scenes, in front of the scenes. What's the opposite of behind the scenes? To get that up to speed, but really cool to kind of integrate the whole history of the ballpark into its new era now with the Columbus Clingstones, AA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. So I was there on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon, drove to Atlanta, got a flight, got home super late on Sunday night, and here we are talking Wednesday. I still feel like I'm in a bit of a getting back on track period.
Right.
And then we're just in time for July 4th and everything kind of going a little haywire over July 4th for various reasons. It's that time of year.
It is that time of year, and there'll be a lot of special fireworks shows across minor league ballparks all over the country because of the 4th of July this week. Vancouver got to have its Canada Day game here on July 1st. We're talking one day after that. Toronto, obviously, had its Canada Day celebration, which included some fireworks from George Springer hitting a grand slam. So it is that celebratory time of year. If you don't already have plans to go to a minor league game this week, this is the time to do it. And this is when teams are at their best. They know that crowds are coming, and they try to put out their best foot forward. So if you're listening to this right now, you're probably getting plans already together to go to a minor league game. If not this weekend, then next week. But just wanted to throw that out
every
there.
team is home. The 6-game homestand take a pause this week because every team is home on either July 3rd or July 4th. So those options exist.
There you go. Well, Ben, let's throw it now to our interview, which includes one of your stops from the trip. We're going to go back to Fifth Third Park with the Hub City Spartanburgers. You were talking about it, the culinary scene a little bit in Spartanburg, South Carolina. We'll hear a little bit more about it, what it's like at the ballpark itself.
Yeah, going back to Spartanburg. So much happened in Spartanburg. I also went to a Circle K in Spartanburg and hung out with their mascot Cuppy and as well as the Spartanburgers mascot Chuck. And you can watch a little video of my visit on the MILB Instagram. Spartanburg was a lot happening in 2 days. And one of the things that happened is I did an interview with Lauren Matthews, who, generally speaking, you could call her the team's food and beverage director. She is technically the general manager of OVG Hospitality at Fifth Third Park in Spartanburg. OVG Hospitality being a standalone that works, if not exclusively, but with all the teams owned by DBH, Diamond Baseball Holdings. But anyway, I was curious, when you name your team the Spartanburgers, then people are going to start saying, well, I want to get a burger in this game. So
You've made me hungry before I've walked.
yeah. So how do you approach that when you have a food in your team name? And they also decided to have a 102 topping burger bar, which I don't need to get into too much now because we talk about it quite a bit. But if you go to a Spartanburgers game, of course you can get a burger and you can walk over to a burger bar with 102 toppings. And those toppings are like rotated out throughout the game. So they have more than 102 like in their arsenal. There's just 102 at any given time. So that results in 166,650 um, 3 topping variations, and 9 non-nillion overall combinations. Like just a number that really the human mind cannot
You
comprehend.
no, not at
So you
all.
want a burger that no one's ever had before? Go to Fifth Third Park and you can customize your own. Incidentally, I said to Tyson, the team's GM, I was like, "Hey, remember when the West Michigan Whitecaps used to play at Fifth Third Field? That ballpark has a different name now, but they became famous for their Fifth Third burger, which was 5/3 of a pound." And I was like, "Now there's you guys, the Spartanburgers, playing in Fifth Third Park. Burger, Fifth Third. We're gonna bring this thing back. We'll see." I'm just going out there spreading good ideas all over America. Anyway, Lauren Matthews talking about Hub City Spartan Burgers concessions, burger toppings, much more. She is the general manager of OVG Hospitality at Fifth Third Park. And let's hear it. Okay, I'm here with Lauren Matthews, the GM of Hospitality with OVG. That's the Oakview Group.
Yes.
And you're in charge of food and beverage concessions with the Hub City Spartanburgers.
I am. We do all of the food and beverage here at the park. So all game day concessions, private events, we handle it all.
Yeah, so starting up food and beverage in a new ballpark is always a big job. And I guess I find this one particularly interesting because you're the Spartanburgers. So you go in, first things first, and you have to have some of the best burgers in minor league baseball. So did you start with the burgers? I mean, I know you had so many things to take care of to get everything set up, but burgers had to be front and center,
yes,
right?
Burgers, that was all we were thinking of the whole time in the planning. Every different concept we were coming up with and kind of spitballing. We were like, okay, how can we make this burger? So we have a burger nacho. It's the pickle and chip. So it's kind of like a Big Mac, but a nacho form. We have one of our deep fried pizza specials that we do about once a month, and it's a burger theme as well. And then, of course, the infamous Spartan Burger topping bar. We like to consider it the biggest topping bar in baseball, possibly the world. Big statement, but maybe. And that's where we have our 9 non-million combinations of toppings. And with the topping bar, that wasn't a last minute add-on, but it was a surprise add-on that we thought would be really cool to surprise the fans with. About January, we started planning and got it here just in time for our grand opening. And planning that was, how do we keep it safe? How do we keep it interesting? How do we not only do lettuce, tomato, and spicy pickles? So it's been a challenge to keep it creative, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, so it's 102 toppings?
102 toppings. They're rotational every game throughout the game. So we do always keep the staples, lettuce, tomato, onion, American cheese. They're always going to be on the bar. But when we get to our niche items and different sauces, those are changed throughout the whole game just to keep fans engaged and keep them coming back. So one of the fun ones we have is we have a couple people doing peanut butter and jelly burgers. Not for me, but some people love it. It's been really popular. What I like to do is a barbecue and pineapple burger. It's my favorite, so I try to always have some pulled pork and grilled off pineapple on the bar, so I'm able to make myself a burger at the end of the night.
Nice. And then, I'm not good at math here. I don't know who did the math on this. So 102 toppings.
Yes.
That equates to 9.
I believe it's 9 non-million, which is a huge number with 30 zeros behind it.
Yeah.
So basically, and I had some cool facts I'll send over and share with you, but from every pitch thrown in baseball since the start of baseball, we have a different combination.
That's one way to contextualize it.
It's I had some help from the internet on figuring out cool ways to compare the amount of options we have with some baseball facts. So I can get those shared with you. They're pretty cool.
Nice. And then all the concessions at the ballpark at Fifth Third Park, it's a marketplace.
Yes,
concessions.
we are almost 100% grab and go self-checkout, which is nice. It's been a learning adjustment for some of our crowd, but cuts our line time down just about in half, instead of the traditional belly up concession stands where you're reading off the menu, giving your order, and waiting for somebody to hand it to you. Our stuff is hot and ready, waiting for you. All you have to do is pick what you want. The nice part is you don't have to wait in line. You can walk around. If someone's looking at the different hot dogs we have, you can skip around them and look at the different burgers. Or if you just want a soda, you can walk straight to the coolers and grab a soda instead of having to wait in line. So as we're educating our fans on the traditional way of working a marketplace, we've seen the lines speed up insanely. The one downfall of that is fountain soda. We hear about it a lot, but we do have the option at our Caboose bar. So we do try to advertise that the folks that love baseball and love their fountain soda with a baseball game, that we do have it. It's just at our Caboose bar.
Gotcha. And that does, to me, seem like an overall more efficient system, yes. But it probably comes with its challenges or things people might think about operationally that might be difficult.
Yeah, the hardest thing this year is it's year one. We don't have last year to go off of knowing, on Tuesdays we have 5,000 people here, and on Wednesdays we see 2,000. We don't have all that yet. So our prep, it's been adjusting every day as we see how our crowds go, because we're not necessarily cooking for order. We are cooking a little bit, have it ready for our first 20 guests, and then cooking the next batch. So making sure we're prepared to anticipate their needs and what they're going to want, because every game is different. Some nights it's the Carolina dog, which is a Maurice's barbecue, pulled pork and coleslaw hot dog. That one will be our number one seller. The next night it's deep fried pizza. So each fan has a different favorite item here, and we never know who's showing up. So that's been fun and a learning curve to keep the flow steady. But it is nice how we have it set up. Each marketplace typically has about 3 to 4 cooks, and then we have 2 people in the front and 1 cashier. But with that 1 cashier, they can handle 10 of our checkouts because they're self-checkout. So it does speed up the process with its own learning curves, even for our employees who are like, what's a grab and go? Like, I can't modify every order. So that's been fun to educate everyone. And once they kind of see it work after a game or two, they get right behind it and they're like, nope, this is how you do it. And they're happy to educate everybody on it because it is a smoother process once everybody knows about it.
Yeah, so this seems like a trend we can probably expect at more minor league ballparks, or one that's growing already.
Yes.
Did you have people you could talk to in the industry to help you get this kind of thing set up?
Yeah, luckily I did come from a stadium where we weren't fully grab and go yet, but we had slowly started introducing the concept of grab and goes, mostly with beverage at first, and then coming in being almost 100% grab and go. It was new for me, but the Moody Center out in Austin, Texas, they're almost 100% grab and go, and I had some good connections there that I could talk through and kind of see what worked and what didn't. You do have to be strategic with your menu items because some of it is you're prepping for the masses. So, what holds the best? What can we prep ahead of time? What has to be done fresh and put in the window one at a time? So that was good to have them to be able to talk with. And I do think we will see more marketplaces and grab and goes in minor league baseball in the future. I don't know if we'll have a lot of parks be 100% grab and go, just with the atmosphere of minor league baseball. People still love the belly up, which we do have options of that here, but I think it will be a big wave coming of grab and goes.
Yeah, and we talked about the burger, the topping bar, but what about the burger itself? I know there's a lot of pressure to have really good burgers,
yes.
no matter what you put on it. So what was the process with choosing what kind of burger to use? How did you source it and get that all lined up?
Yeah, so planning the Spartanburger, the pressure was definitely on. I've never been so stressed out about a burger in my life, but we wanted to start with a staple, and how do we make it better? How can we have a burger that we know people love but make it the best? And so what we've done is our Spartanburger is a locally hand-pressed ground beef from Brown Packing about 30 minutes up the road. And then we do a house-made pimento cheese, and we have fresh pretzel buns. and we're hand pressing every single Spartanburger patty out of our kitchen. Start from April 15th to June 1st, it was a little over 12,000 burgers that have been hand pressed here at the stadium. So they're definitely made with love. And then our chef is making fresh pimento cheese every day, and they're cooked to perfection. With a lot of stadiums, you run into the burgers being overcooked because they sat, or you're nervous because you're not in a traditional restaurant. You're at a ballpark and everyone kind of goes, you have to cook it well done because that will at least make everyone happy. We found the right cooks in our concession stands, and they've nailed it down, and they have cooking just right. And I think because we're not holding a lot of burgers and cooking them fresh, they're pressed fresh every day, we're able to keep that quality of a local fresh product that you would get in a restaurant, but you're getting it at a ballpark.
Yeah, and then another attention-getting item, I think you mentioned it earlier, but deep fried pizza.
Yes, deep fried pizza. One of the OVG chefs, Chef Tim, it was his idea. We originally were going to have the traditional pizza, and we were like, how do we get away from just a slice of pie? We were like, let's deep fry it. So with the equipment that we have available, we kind of brainstormed. We were like, okay, we could do Hot Pockets. We're like, well, that's nothing crazy. Like, anybody could do a Hot Pocket. And we're like, what's different but kind of similar and still gets that pizza feel? And we're like, let's just deep fry it. Let's see what happens when we put everything together and deep fry it. So what we do is we roll out dough each day. It has some house-made marinara sauce, ricotta cheese, mozzarella, and fresh basil. And they make it just like you would make it at a mom and pop pizza shop, and then we just fold it in half and deep fry it. It's very similar to a calzone, but I personally prefer the deep fried. It's a little bit crispier, and we sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top, and it's delicious. It's a midnight snack when I'm working late. I'll make one. It's really good. I highly recommend the deep fried pizza here at the park.
Nice. So now we're about halfway through year one, and obviously there's so much to get together for year one. I'll close with this. Now looking ahead to year two, is there anything that you already have in mind that you'd like to add going forward?
Yes. Some secrets, bigger and better. I will say, we have the burger bar, and next year kind of my motto is, what are we doing to be bigger and better? Every year there's always room for improvement and growth, and the new things that keep the fans enticed to come back. So I'm excited for what we have in store for the future. I think with our promotions and more specials that we'll be rolling out, as kind of not the new wears off of our grand opening, but once everyone's seen the burger bar, they're going to say, okay, what's next? And we have to be prepared for that.
And I guess one more.
Okay.
102 items in the burger topping bar. What is the weirdest one?
The weirdest one was actually today. We did some roasted marshmallows onto the burger bar. I do need to go check and see if anybody's taken it up. Our theme tonight is Flip's Last Resort, a twist and a kid-friendly twist on Dick's Last Resort, the restaurant. And Flip made a sign of, what you're probably getting and what you should get. And I think he forgot to put the marshmallows on there, but I'm hoping some people tried it out. Think it could be good. We've had people do everything. We've had somebody go and get every single topping off the bar just to say they did it. So people are doing the crazy combinations, hot fries and nacho cheese, and then the traditional lettuce, tomato, and onion all on one burger, and they enjoy the whole thing. So some people like the traditional. We do have our regular condiment cart, so you're not searching through 102 toppings just to find ketchup and mustard if that's more your style. But I think the roasted marshmallows was a crazy one. Sardines have been on there. Some people really like the sardines. Not for me. And then I think the variation of different sauces that we have, we continuously bring out new hot sauces, some local sauces, so that's been a big hit too. Some of them sometimes end up traveling away from the bar, and then they make their way back but people really like showing off the cool hot sauces we have too, that they take pictures of the bottles and then I'm assuming are going to purchase them themselves. One of those being a hot honey peach hot sauce, which has been really popular.
Nice. Well, there you have it. Come to a Spartanburgers game to get one of 9 million burger combinations. Thanks, Lauren.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, listen up, nacho chips. Quiet down, crispy potatoes. This is the moment Velveeta's been preparing you for, and you're not about to crack under pressure. Today's the day to go all in on the drip. Velveeta's Heat and Eat Queso is the MVP of any game day spread, so stick by them, and you'll be golden. Now get out there and make delicious history. No tailgate party is complete without Velveeta.
Hi, everybody. It's Sam again. Thank you to Ben for providing that interview with Lauren Matthews from Fifth Third Park with the Hub City Spartanburgers. Let's pivot here now to prospects. Like we were saying, this is a busy time of year for us in general, but especially this week, at least for me and some of the folks here, as we turn here to July, we're just away from the futures game and then the draft and then the trade deadline at the end of the month. So prospects are very much on our mind at this time of year, as they are all times of year, of course. But just before things really ratchet up and get big next week, we wanted to do an update of the MLB Pipeline Top 100. So we released that last night, Tuesday night, according to when we're recording this, that was last night. But Tuesday night came out with a fresh new Top 100. This is another version of our market corrections. So this isn't us completely revoting on the Top 100. Think of it more as like some tweaks. We do revote on the top 15, and then we look at players, whether they're deserving of moving up or down 10 or more spots. If we don't feel that they're worthy of that quite yet, we just let them hold and keep them where they are relative to their other players. Then we take some guys off the list completely. We add new guys on. So it gives it a little bit of a refresh. It reflects what we've seen through the first half of the season now. And obviously, so much of this is bakes in both performance and future projection. So we're not just doing this based off who had the best first half in minor league baseball. The list would look very different from that. Instead, these are guys who are on a better path now or a worse path than they were when we initially did this list in the preseason. We've done one market correction before already in 2025. That was in May. This is our second one of the season. We'll do a few more before the year is out. But just to take you through it, that top 15, like I said, that we completely revoted on. This is how it broke down. Roman Anthony, outfielder for the Boston Red Sox, remains the number one prospect in baseball. I know some of the numbers weren't great to begin the year in the major leagues, but under the hood, it's been really good. It's exactly the Roman Anthony that we saw in AAA Worcester before that. He's making all sorts of hard contact. He's swinging the bat with great speed. His decisions have been pretty solid. Everything's going to start turning around. It's already done that in the last few games, to be honest with you. So Roman Anthony, I wrote in the write-up, it would not surprise me if he's an all-star at this time next year for the Red Sox. So he's number one. Number two is Chase Burns, right-handed pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds. I know he did not have a great start against the Red Sox in his most recent outing, his second appearance in the major leagues. But the fastball is really special. The slider is really good. The changeup is improved from where it was in college. He's got just a full arsenal of pitches, and he's got better control than a lot of these guys who throw super hard. I mean, he's throwing in the upper 90s, touching triple digits. You normally expect those guys to be overthrowers. He is not that. So there were some questions about, was he tipping pitches against the Red Sox? They were swinging a lot on first pitches. You saw Trevor Story hammer the slider that has been so very good for Chase Burns at all the other levels at which he's played in 2025. We're not going to lose, our appreciation for Chase Burns based off one start. If it is as simple as tipping pitches, hopefully that's something he and the Reds can identify and fix, and moving forward, that can be addressed. But the quality of the pitches is just too good for Chase Burns. So he's at number 2. Number 3 is Leo DeVries, shortstop for the San Diego Padres, playing at high A for the Padres already at just 18 years old. It's a pretty short list of guys who have gotten as many at-bats as he has at 18 at that level. It's a potential for him to be a 5-tool player. He's a switch hitter. I know the power hasn't really been there the last 2 months for DeVries, but again, just being 18, he's not turning 19 until October. He's going to be 18 all summer. You kind of expect some up and downs with him, but above average run tool, he's got a strong arm, can play shortstop. A lot there to like for Leo DeVries, so he sits at number 3 for us right now. Number 4 is Sebastian Walcott, somebody I got to talk to down in Double A Frisco. He's been at Double A all season at just 19 years old. It's the power that stands out most for him. He stands 6'4" in the box. He's got a rocket of an arm. They're starting to mix in some third base with him as well. Obviously, they have a big shortstop right now already in Arlington in Corey Seager, but Sebastian Walcott, it's gonna take some time. He's going to need to come around a little bit more, but it's plus power from him with that arm, and he can run too. He really eats up ground with those long limbs. So keep an eye out for Sebastian Walcott at number 4. Bubba Chandler drops from number 2 to number 5. The stuff is still really good. That fastball is really good. It's basically flat coming into the zone, and he's got a good changeup. It's just the control has not been there recently at all for Bubba Chandler. He's kind of fallen off. He went from a guy who looked like he should be in the major leagues by May to somebody who still has some things to correct. So a little concerning for Bubba Chandler, an arrow down for now, but still could be really good. I mean, he's only 22 years old in that Pittsburgh Pirates system. Marcelo Meyer, another Boston Red Sox player, infielder. He's moved around a lot at the major league level for them because they have Trevor Story at shortstop. Alex Bregman's injury has opened up third base to him. Meyer might have to move over to second base when Bregman comes back. But the glove has been really, really good for Meyer. And he's looked relaxed and comfortable at the major league level. Numbers not quite standing out just yet, but he could still be somebody who's got tremendous bat speed. That's coming through, certainly. It could be above average hit, above average power, and then you mix in that defense. There's a lot to like for Marcelo Meyer. He will be a mainstay at Fenway for a long time, I believe. Number 7 was one of our bigger jumpers into the top 15. That's Kevin McGonigal of the Detroit Tigers system. Might have the best hit tool in all of minor league baseball. He's dealt with some injuries the first 2 seasons. He was the 37th overall pick in the 2023 draft. Had hamate surgery after he fractured that bone last year, only limited him to 74 games. Had an ankle issue early in the year this year, but with high A West Michigan, it's been absolutely special. 382 average, 461 on base, 679 slugging. It feels like every time I'm watching Kevin McGonigal, he's shooting a ball to the gap for a double. I mean, he's been an absolute machine with that. They're keeping him at shortstop. I know a lot of evaluators believe he's probably going to move over to second base at some point, but they continue to churn him out at short. And if he's got that hit tool and the power is playing as it is right now, it would not shock me at all if Kevin McGonigal is the number 1 overall prospect in baseball by the time we do our midseason update in August. We'll see how that goes, but definitely massive helium for Kevin McGonigal. Jesus Made, if you listen to the show, you know how much I like Jesus Made. Really good bat speed. Could be plus hit, plus power. He's only 18 years old, turned 18 in May. So this is technically his age 18 season, but he started the year at 17 years old at just single A, holding his own there. Jack Caglione, we talked about plenty on the show as well. Incredible power. He's hitting the ball a lot on the ground right now in the major leagues, but nobody who is considered a prospect right now can really rival Jack Caglione's raw power. So he sits at number 9. Andrew Painter, returning from Tommy John surgery, missed all of last year, missed much of 2023 because of the elbow issues, then underwent the surgery. The stuff has been pretty good. It's not always there. It's not always consistent. You kind of expect that coming off such a long layoff, but he's been at AAA Lehigh Valley right now and seems to be finding himself a little bit of late. His last 3 starts, he's allowed 4 earned runs, I should say, in 14 1/3 innings. He has struck out 17 batters in that span. So the control is running a little bit hot and cold right now for Andrew Painter, but as he continues to find himself, again, only 22 years old, 6'7", he has massive upside. So that's what we're leaning with him. And then the bottom 5 of this top 15, Samuel Basayo, hard-hitting catcher for the Baltimore Orioles. He's at AAA at just 20 years old. Max Clark of the Detroit Tigers gives the Tigers another representative here. High on base, good speed, good throwing arm from the outfield. Could end up being your like prototypical leadoff man. The power is kind of coming around. It's still not quite there. And that's what I think is a drawback for some people. But I mean, you look at how many homers he hit last year, which was 9 in 107 games. He's up to 7 in 64. So it's ticking up for Max Clark. So we're kind of holding on him for right now. Connor Griffin, one of the best overall talents in last year's draft. He was taken 9th overall by the Pirates. There were some questions about his hit tool coming into the year. He's basically erased those, and he's got plus power. He's got plus speed. He could be one of the best power speed prospects we've seen in the game in some time. We'll see how this holds. If it does hold, he's at high A Greensboro now. He could be a top 5 prospect and right there rivaling Kevin McGonigal for the number 1 overall spot if things continue as they expect to going into August. So keep an eye on Connor Griffin. Jordan Lawler slips. He's actually dealing with a hamstring injury. The D-backs told me it's a rough estimate that he'll be out a month. We'll see how things go. Really struggled with non-fastballs at the major league level. Was left vulnerable to those. So we'll see how he adjusts to that at AAA Reno. But he's been really good at Reno, and he's only 22. Walker Jenkins has had his own ankle injuries to deal with this year. He's only played 22 games. On pure tools, I mean, he's up there with anybody else in baseball. It's plus hit, plus power, above average run, good throwing arm, can play center field. Everything you'd want out of an outfield prospect. We just haven't really seen him play much in the minor leagues. He played 82 games last year, only at 22 right now. He's at AA, so he's like a step ahead of where Max Clark is in terms of being challenged. But we just need more data. We need to see him out there more. So he sits there at number 15. Some of our biggest jumpers on the list, let's just go through those real quick. 2 Brewers at the top of the highest risers. Luis Pena jumps 56 spots from 95 to 39. If you just looked at their blind resumes between Jesus Made and Luis Pena, Pena's honestly been a little bit more productive between the DSL last year and Single A Carolina this year. The question for him, unlike Made, was with the power. He's starting to see some increased exit velocities this season. He's a plus runner. He's always going to be a threat to steal bags. He's a pretty good hitter as well. And he's been shifting between shortstop, third base, moving around the infield for Carolina. We'll see how things work out long term between him and Made, and who has to be at short and who has to be at third, and who might even move over to second base. But Pena, massive arrow up there. Jacob Mizorowski with the Brewers. I'm actually going to see him face the Mets tonight on Wednesday. But he's been obviously dominant out of the gate in the major leagues. The fastball has been up to 102. We know he can touch 103. He's making guys look goofy with mid-90s sliders, and then he's got that changeup that's much improved this year. There's still that concern in the back of our minds that the control problems, which happened earlier in his career and have dogged him throughout his professional life, could pop up at any time. He's looked great early on. If you just looked at the major league stuff, you would think like, man, this guy's going to make it work. It doesn't matter if he's walking a couple guys, and maybe it will, but we've got him at 21 now just because he does have the longer history of control woes. And then the third one I'll mention here is Jonah Tong with the Mets. If you watch Jonah Tong pitch, it's basically the second coming of Tim Lincecum. He said he's heard that a lot. It's tremendous carry out of an over-the-top slot. And he's got a curveball to play off of that fastball. So he's got something working north and south. I remember in the offseason, the Mets said they were going to try to work with him on improving his changeup, giving him something that was going to move arm side. It's worked really well. It's getting incredible swing and miss so far. So Jonah Tong, as of right now, is the minor league strikeout leader. We're having that reflected in how much he has risen on our list, going up 33 spots from 92 to 59. We'll keep it a little positive here. I'll just mention the other new faces on the list. At number 91 is Logan Henderson of the Brewers. 92 is Luis Morales of the Athletics. 93 is Alfredo Duno, catcher for the Reds. 95 is Colson Montgomery, a shortstop for the White Sox. Somebody who dropped off the list is back on it now. He's looked a lot better here in the last few weeks. Really doing a good job of driving the ball in the air and finding the barrel. If you're wondering why I didn't say 94, that's Joe Mack, who is already on the list. 96 is Kalen Culpepper, first round pick for the Twins last year. He just reached AA. 97 is Arun Escobar, a second baseman / third baseman for the Phillies. 98, Bryce Matthews of the Astros, second baseman / shortstop. Number 99, Raniel Rodriguez, a catcher from the Cardinals. Tremendous exit velocities and home run power last year in the DSL. Cruised through the Florida Complex League. He's already at Single A Palm Beach in his first stateside season. Numbers aren't quite there with Palm Beach, but again, like, he's there super early in his teens. Really like where the power already is and how he's going to build off that for Raniel Rodriguez. And then Justinson Garcia of the Red Sox, an outfielder who some of you might know by his tremendous nickname, which is the Password. He's somebody who, like, the Red Sox have done a really good job, obviously, the last few years of developing guys with bat speed, adding strength. That's how Roman took off. That's how Christian Campbell took off. So I think I said his name wrong on the first time. I'm just trying to get this right. Joe Stinson Garcia. You can call him the Password. Everybody else does. But he transitions well into my next topic here real quick, which is the Futures Game rosters are out, and Garcia is on them. He will be representing the American League. He's the Red Sox only representative on this year's team. If you remember the Futures Game from a few years ago, it used to be the U.S. versus the world format. Now it's gone to AL versus NL. They've done that the last few years, which I think is probably for the best. This gets as many really good prospects in the game as we can. There are 34 top 100 prospects on the rosters. That's out of 50 total players, so that's really good representation, including 9 of the top 19, and that's using our updated lists. The National League will have Leo DeVries, who we talked about earlier, Jesus Made, Andrew Painter. Those are all top 10 prospects. Cardinals shortstop J.J. Weatherholt, who's number 19, and Rockies first baseman / outfielder Charlie Condon, who's at number 23. Condon just promoted to Double-A Hartford in the Rockies system. The Tigers send 3 prospects, including Kevin McGonigal, Max Clark, and catcher / first baseman Josue Perseño, all of whom are coming from High A West Michigan. It's the Tigers and the Mariners that have the most representatives on this year's Futures Game. The Mariners are also sending 3 prospects. Those are Lazaro Montez, catcher Harry Ford, and switch pitcher Durangelo Senja. Those are number 29, number 56, and number 79. So some other big names on that AL team will be Sebastian Walcott, who we talked about earlier, and White Sox left-hander Noah Schultz. The Futures Game will take place on Saturday, July 12th at Truist Park in Atlanta. The game is at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. It will be broadcast on MLB Network. Some friends of the show will be broadcasting that: Melanie Newman, Yonder Alonso, Jonathan Mayo, and Sandy Charles. So that'll be on MLB Network. It'll also be simulcast on MLB TV, MLB.com, and the MLB app. So tons of ways for you to check in with that Futures Game. Very excited for it. It is 7 innings again this year, so it's a little bit of a shorter game. But I like getting to see as much of these guys as I can. I will be in Atlanta for the Futures Game. My first Futures Game in a few years. Excited to get down there, and I'll also be on draft coverage with Jonathan Mayo, Jim Callis, and the rest of the MLB Pipeline team. So very exciting stuff. This is essentially the All-Star Game for minor league baseball. It's more based on prospects than what have you done in the first half, but the whole point is to give you guys a look at these guys that I've been writing about and talking about all year, but they're spread out across the country, and including Canada if they've been playing in Vancouver. Now is an opportunity to get all of these guys on the field at one time. And then we get to compare in a few years. You know, when we get an all-star roster, how many of these guys were Futures Gamers? How many faced each other in a Futures Game in the past? And what kind of moments will we get? I'm very excited to see guys like Sebastian Walcott show off that power. Josue Briseño, show off that pop. He was the AFL Triple Crown winner last year. What happens in a game like this? Wouldn't be surprised if he goes off. Somebody like Noah Schultz, like he's been in AAA so far. What can he do with his stuff? That slider is really good. That fastball is really good. He's a massive human being too. Some people will throw out Randy Johnson comps for him. So what can he do on that stage? Travis Sakura, Washington Nationals pitcher, big arrow up next to his name this year. He had offseason hip surgery. The velocity's been up a little bit. I talked to him in Wilmington a few weeks ago. The splitter's really good. The slider's really good. What can he do if he's only facing 2 or 3 batters in this game? It's going to be tough for the hitters because pitchers are going to be on shorter leashes and they're going to want to unleash their best stuff. But we saw a couple homers last year between Drake Baldwin and Cam Collier. So certainly a number of guys who could swing for the fences here and connect and send one deep. So maybe we'll talk about this a little bit more next week when the game is like right on our doorstep. But for right now, check out the futures game rosters on MLB.com. You can go to MLB.com/pipeline. They'll be easier to find there. And yeah, that'll do it right now for the prospect segment. We'll talk a lot more about, outlook going into the second half and prospect lists and how the draft is going to be affected by things, or how the draft affects farm systems going into the draft, what farm systems were affected by the draft, all that good stuff in the coming weeks. We're going to take a pause now here, and then Ben will join me on the other side of the break.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, well, that'll do it for us this week on the show. Before the show, just me and Ben. Again, Ben is back now. Ben is back. Maybe we'll come up with a theme song for that at some point. But because it is not the three of us, Tyler, like I said at the start of the show, and as you've certainly surmised by this point, is not on this week. We won't do a Name That Dude segment. It's better when there are 2 dude guessers and 1 dude knower. So what we're going to do instead is something we've done in the past when it's the 2 of us, whatever combination that may be, is we'll do a Remember That Dude segment where one person just names a team, the other one remembers a dude from that team and years gone by. You can't say like somebody on the team now. If I said Phillies and Ben said Bryce Harper, I would boo him out of this room.
Yeah, nor should you say like Mike Schmidt.
Exactly.
First thought, best thought, but also make it someone who's a little bit more.
Let's yeah. So Ben, I will give you a team first. And I will say, I've got the All-Star game on the brain. I talked a little bit about the futures game. I'll go with the Atlanta Braves. I know they're an NL East rival. Guys come through the Braves over the years. Maybe hated, maybe there was somebody who thought, hey, I'd like that guy to be a Philly someday. But name a dude from the Atlanta Braves.
How about Pascual Perez? You know
Sure.
him? He was a pitcher in the 80s. I think he was with the Expos first. And as a little kid loving Topps cards, I think it was my 86 Topps card, like the first cards I ever really started to look at obsessively. I was really young. I remember Pascual Perez went 1-13. And as a little kid, I was like, that's the worst one-loss record like I've ever seen in my life. But then he came back and went 7-0. The following year or 2 years later, and I was just blown away as a kid. I was like, how did the guy who went 1-13 go 7-0? And I know there's now more complex analysis of win-loss records. But he was a character. I think he had some legal problems with drugs through the years here and there, but also had some perseverance and kept getting back in the game. And there's a band project who I love. Mike Mills and Peter Buck from REM are both involved with it. But great band overall. Scott McCloy, Peter Wynn. Anyway, they write great songs about baseball. And one of the songs is called Pascual on the Perimeter. And it's about this pitcher having to start a game, just unable to find his way to Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium.
Oh,
On
man.
the perimeter, meaning like he just seems like he's like, and the chorus is like Pascal on the perimeter, there's got to be an exit here. And it's just a song about a starting pitcher getting lost on the way to the game.
I've had dreams like that.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a nightmare.
Yeah.
I dreamed I had to start for the Atlanta Braves, and I was a
I
mile
couldn't
from
get
the
in.
stadium. I
Yeah.
could see it, but I just like
I
drove
heard
in
my
circles.
name being announced from outside and I just couldn't get in. I've definitely had that before, and then I realize it's a dream and I just wake up. But like, oh man.
Yeah, so check out that song by the Baseball Project.
There we go.
Pascual. I'm finding this name like all names hard to pronounce. Pascual Perez.
All right. Well, give me a man.
Yeah, I didn't mean to ramble for 6 minutes about a random Brave, but
No, that's the point of this segment, really.
yeah. How about the Minnesota Twins?
Minnesota Twins. Oh man, there's some good Twins over the years. It's funny, those early 2000s Twins just felt so like, I don't want to say central to who I am as a fan, but they were just always around. I feel like we did this before and I said Brad Radke. It's just Brad Radke always just
Did I
goes
give
up.
you Twins in the past?
I don't know if it was you. It might have been Tyler. So I'm not going to go with Brad Radke. Who do I want to go with instead? This might be a little first base, but I feel like the kids should know about him. It's going to be first base for me and you, but maybe not some of our listeners if they're on the younger side. Everyday Eddie Guardado.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I don't think his stuff was all that special, to be honest with you. But he was just like, at that time, was the closer for one of the better teams in baseball and was just throwing a ton of games. Like you just brought it up. And in 1996, 83 games he played. He had an ERA of 5.25. So it's not exactly like he was somebody who like maybe games, but he did a lot of it. And like I said, early 2000s, those Twins teams, he was a two-time All-Star in 2002 and 2003, saved 45 games for the Braves at one point, led the American League when he did that, even got MVP votes. Well, he came 15th in MVP voting. Didn't get any Cy Young votes, though. Funny how that works. But had a 2.93 ERA for that 2002 Twins side. Just a left-hander who you could bring in and rely on to some degree. I mean, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, I mean,
and
83, 69, 79, 63, 70, 67, 68, 66. I mean, that's a massive amount.
Yeah, never cracked more than 94 and 2/3 innings in a season, and that was his first year. His rookie year, he was a starter for the Twins in 1993. Made 16 starts for them, pitched 94 and 2/3 innings. Never threw more than that the rest of the way. One thing I guess I forgot, to be honest with you, as we're looking at this, his last year with the Twins. Not the last year, because he came back to the Twins later in his career, but he had stints with, let's see here, with the Mariners, with the Reds. He was in the Reds farm system for a little bit. He was with the Rangers for a time. He was with the Twins again in 2008, then re-signed with the Rangers for 2009. I don't remember those stints at all, to be honest with you. I just remember, the folks in the Twin Cities getting excited that Everyday Eddie was coming in, and they had somebody reliable at the back end of the bullpen. So I'll say Eddie Guardado.
That's a good choice. He played for the 1992 Kenosha Twins in the Midwest League. It's a team we don't get to mention very often. And who else made it to the majors from that team? Brent Breed, Damian Miller.
Brad Radke, he's always around. If we're just talking about the Twins, Brad Radke always emerges.
Holding it down at the age of 19, 10-10, 26 games, 25 starts. Led the team in pretty much every pitching category at the age of 19 for those 1992 Kenosha Twins with Eddie Guardado. Rotation that year, going 5-10 with a 4.37 ERA, 103 strikeouts and 101 innings pitched. We can do
We're just gonna fall down a rabbit hole of Minnesota Twins. All right, so that's how we'll do this week. There's a Brave and a Twin to remember. Hopefully we'll be back with a full slate next week. I'll preview a little bit more of the futures game. Maybe Tyler and I will do a draft of our own futures game rosters. That would be kind of fun. We've done that in the past. But for now, Ben, it's good to have you back. We'll have the full team back next week. We'll catch you then. Thanks for listening to the show before the show.
Happy birthday, America.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Car shopping shouldn't feel like preparing for a marathon of paperwork. That's why Carvana makes buying and financing your car easy. From start to finish, search thousands of vehicles with great prices. All online, all on your time. And when you're ready, your new car shows up right at your door. It doesn't get better than that. Buy your car the easy way. On Carvana. Delivery fees may apply.